Hey, good evening, everybody. Miss you guys. Feel like I've been stuck in my house forever. Toby's tired of it too. So, I thought I would try to do something fun. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it doesn't. We'll see what happens. But here we go. So, I am going to tell a Bible story later, but let's start and see if you can figure out who this Bible story is going to be about by drawing. So we're actually going to do like a how to draw thing here. I'm going to get it started here. So what you need to do is you need to pause the video.
Guys, it's me, guys.
Pause the video. Go get a paper. And if you have crayons, markers, if you just have a pencil, that's fine. Just go get something to draw with. Pause. And then whenever you have it, come back and let's get started, okay? So pause the video. And once you've unpaused it, hello again. Let's get started. Let's see who we're going to talk about today.
Yes! I'm so excited to draw with you today because
I'm going to try to draw it too. Let's see what happens.
Very brave man named
I'm no good at it.
Daniel. Let's do it. First, draw a short little line in the middle of your paper. Then a line going down on the right side, like this. On the other side, draw another line going down, but add a short line out to the left like this. Now connect these two lines here with a curved line across. Yeah, a nose. Now let's do circles on either side of the nose for eyes.
I messed up already. Let's try this again. Alright, so if you needed to slow down, it was a line across, and then a line down, and then a line down but not so far, and come out that like that, and come around, and this is supposed to be the nose for the middle of the face. And then he said that we were going to draw circles. Obviously, I am not a good artist. Right?
Draw two little circles inside those ones too, like this. Now
Two
color them in.
And
Okay, now go up above his eye on this side and draw a long line.
alright. You can pause it if you need to. Oops, that's not good. I want to fix that. Nope, not going to happen. Alright. Whenever you get that done.
And going down, it kind of starts to curve in at the bottom. And we'll do another curved line on the other side, like this. This one curves in, then out, like that. Connect those lines at the bottom with a straight line across. Yep. Head back up to the nose and draw a line across for his beard. But don't draw through the...
Kind of looks like a number
I'm
9.
so excited to draw with you
Oops, I
today
messed it up.
because we are drawing a very brave man. A nose. Now let's do circle. Okay. Now go up above his eye. It kind of starts to curve in at the bottom. And we'll do another curved line on the other side, like this. This one curves in, then out, like that. Connect those lines at the bottom with a straight line across. Yep. Head back up to the nose and draw a line across for his beard. But don't draw through the nose. Daniel has a super cool mustache. So let's draw some lines that look like leaves going
the part I'm
down from his
bad at.
nose like this. underneath. Now let's add some curly hair across the bottom of his hair.
Might take you a couple tries to get that one.
Curly swirls like this.
It did for me.
Let's do a little backward C shape here.
Okay, so get his mustache, his mouth, and his swirls on his beard. And then he said to make a C for an ear. Ooh, that's a big ear. Little ears.
At the top, right up here, we're gonna draw a rectangle for his hat. Let's add some more hair now. On this side of his hat, let's draw some big raindrop shapes, like this. And then even bigger ones over here on the left. Now we just need some straight lines above his eyes. Here and here to make some eyebrows. And guess what? We did it!
Well, that's the best I can do. If you did better than me, bring it to church and show it to me. Okay. Did anybody hear the name? Who are we going to talk about?
Thanks for drawing Daniel with me today, friends. See ya.
Daniel. Okay. So, today I'm going to teach a lesson about Daniel. But first, Hermana Jenny said you're singing very soon. Hermana Vicky said you're singing soon also. I'll get the music for Pee-wee soon. But I was able to find the Patch music. So, I want you to watch these kids that they performed it. And you can get some ideas.
Good evening. This is Landon and Isabella Stitt, and we are here at Lighthouse Baptist Church interviewing random people to find out what worship is. Excuse me, but can you tell me what worship means to you? Let's see. I believe worship is something only that grown-ups do. That's right. It's something that grown-ups do, usually in the church auditorium. So, worship must take place inside a church building? Yes, I believe so. And what do you think worship is? Worship is sitting very still with your eyes closed and thinking good things about God. Oh, I see. And you? What does worship mean to you? I believe that worship is the meetings we have at our church on Sunday mornings. You know, the worship service. So, worship to you is a church service? Wait a minute. Stop this interview. Hey friends, don't you remember what we learned about worship this month in Patch Club? What you just said isn't worship. Oh, I see. You have a different opinion of worship. I don't have a different opinion. I have a genuine Bible teaching on worship. According to John 24:23-24, worship is to be done in the spirit and in truth. Worship begins in the soul, the heart, the spirit, or within you, as Psalm 103 describes it. So, everyone can worship God? The Bible commands all Christians to worship God. That includes kids. But we can only truly worship God if our hearts aren't willing to sin. Listen to Psalms 24:3-4. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart. That's right. I remember now. True worship begins in a Christian's heart. It can be shown in an outward expression, or it may be expressed inwardly, in our deepest emotions. And we should worship each time we meet at church, but it can also be done wherever we are and at any time of the day. And there you have it, folks. That's the real truth about worship. Good night. Exodus 34:14. For thou shalt worship no other God Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Every heart will worship one thing or another. Every life we live for a reason. Do not waste your life on vanity and pleasures. Give your life to him who is worthy of worship. Worship the Lord, don't give your heart to another. Worship the Lord, don't live for any other. Creator and King, to you we sing. We give you our lives, a sacrifice as we worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Even things that may be good can be our idols if we love them more than the Father. Love the Lord with all your might and soul and body. Give your life to him who is worthy of worship. Worship the Lord, don't give your heart to another. Worship the Lord, don't live for any other. Creator and King, to you we sing. We give you our lives, a sacrifice as we worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Worship the
All right, so you can work on that today. Hermana Jenny got a recording because some of you have CDs, but a lot of us don't have CD players. So she made a video of it for you. I probably won't play all of it right now, but I'll send it to your parents so you can be practicing. Okay? Now, another thing is probably on Sunday, I haven't been able to go to the church because of the ice, so I haven't been able to record our song to sing on Sunday, so we will not be singing on Sunday. All right. So, let's just go ahead then and get started with the story of Daniel. Okay. Let's see if it will load here. Give it a second. There it is. All right. So, Daniel is one of my favorite characters in the Bible. And I think you might see why. You've probably heard the stories before, but maybe there was something you forgot. So let's just go through it. So, let's pray first. Lord, thank you for this day that you've given us. And Lord, I pray that you would just bless this time. And Lord, help these kids as they're stuck at home, Lord, to just honor you in all that they do and to get some rest. And Lord, I pray that you would be with people who have to be out on the roads. Just give them safety. Lord, thank you for loving us. And just bless this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So, the thing about Daniel is it's near the end of the time when the Old Testament happens. It's actually it looks like it's in the middle of the Old Testament, but it's just it has to do with where they put all the prophets. But really, the Israelites obeyed God sometimes and they disobeyed God sometimes, but now they were really disobeying. David had been a king, and then he had sons who were kings, and a lot of them were very bad, and things just got worse and worse and worse. So God had warned his people that unless they turned back to him, that he was going to let the Babylonians come and defeat them, and he was going to let them take them away as slaves. Well, he finally stopped warning them, and it finally happened. And so the Babylonians came to Jerusalem, and one of the people living there was Daniel. So the people had ignored God's warnings. And so basically the people from Babylon, you can see it there. Nope. No, you can't. Not yet. There it is. So they came all the way from over to where Babylon is, and then they came to Jerusalem to get them. And so the people were inside. Sorry, my contact is bugging me. The Babylonians came to Jerusalem. The people were like up inside the city. You can see like there's the walls, and they tried to stay in there, but the Babylonians finally got them out. And look at them. Do you recognize the things in the pictures? Those are the items from the tabernacle, which by then David didn't get to build the temple, but Solomon did, and it had already been built. Well, the Babylonians came and destroyed it. So they took the sacred objects from the temple. Now, they carried them off. The Babylonians took away a bunch of important leaders, and so they left the poor people behind. So Daniel was taken, which tells us he was probably from an important family in the city of Jerusalem. So they take him back to Babylon, and that's kind of what some of their you can see the picture. That's what some of their architecture, their buildings look like. That's a recreation of it. So they get there. Well, the king puts Ashpenaz, a person who works for him, in charge of all the prisoners that he brings. And so he has to feed them. So Daniel's there. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were originally called Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, but they changed them to Babylonian names. Well, they saw them, and so they wanted to take special care of them, and they could work for their kingdom because they would be intelligent people. And so he was like, well, make sure you take good care of them. And there were other people there as well. Well, so, they trained them, they taught them the language, they taught them, reading, and they were also given special food from the kitchens. Well, here's the problem. Daniel knew that they offered that meat to their own idols first, and he did not want to eat that meat. So, and then also they offered him like alcohol and wine, and he didn't want to become drunk. He didn't want to be like that. So, he asked the chief of staff. He went to him and he said, please, can I just, sorry, trying to get to the right screen here. Can I, eat, basically, it was like vegetables and beans and, just water. He's like, I just want water and vegetables. No meat. He didn't want any of the meat, which I know we all love meat, right? I love some steak. But he didn't want to do it. And so the chief of staff, the Ashpenaz, he was like, no, because then you're going to look weak. You're not going to be strong. You're not going to get your protein. And so he was like, no. But Daniel said, please, just give us 10 days and let's see what happens. And so, you know what? He agreed to it. He said, all right. So that was what they ate. They didn't eat meat. They didn't eat the king's food. They didn't drink the wine. Well, actually what happened at the end of 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked better than the other ones who were eating. And so actually the guy Ashpenaz changed everybody to eat the same food that they were eating. And you know what? He could have just eaten the meat. He was a prisoner, and honestly he was probably putting his life in danger. But you know what? He didn't do it. He wanted to honor the Lord. And you know what? The Lord blessed him for that. And so that was what happened. That was the start. Can you imagine? They were probably very young. And they already had beliefs that they believed. And it's called convictions. They had convictions about what they would and would not do whenever it came to serving the Lord or not. So not everybody in Babylon had turned away from God. Apparently there were still a few that still loved the Lord. Well, time went on, and they lived there, And these young men, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, the Lord really blessed them, and they became very smart, and they learned really well. Well, they were trained, and then they were presented to King Nebuchadnezzar. Well, one day, the king had a dream, and the problem with this dream, I'm sorry, give me a second, I got lost. His dream, it was more of a nightmare. He couldn't sleep. It woke him up in the night. But then, have you ever had a dream and then you wake up and you can't remember what you dreamed? Like, it scared you, but you can't remember what it was. Well, that's what happened to him. So he went and he told his advisors, and Daniel and his friends were part of these advisors because they had become so wise. But there were also people that were like magicians and sorcerers, and they didn't really believe in the true God. And they depended on magic and stars. And he said, I have dreamed a dream, and I want you to tell me what it means. Well, they said, okay, king, tell us what the dream was, and we'll tell you what it means. He's like, well, I forgot it, so I need you to tell me what the dream means, or what the dream is, and then I need you to tell me what the dream means. And they were like, what? We can't do that. You have to at least tell us the dream. And I think maybe he kind of thought, maybe you guys are just tricking me. And so he's like, no, you have to tell me the dream, and then you have to tell me what it means, or you're all gonna die. And they're like begging him. They're like, king, no, we can't do that. And so he said, nope, that's what it's going to be. Well, I guess Daniel wasn't there that day. And so, give me a second. So, but he heard about it. So Daniel hears about it. And so he goes to see the king. And he says, just give me some time. And I think maybe the Lord will tell me what it means. And he had a gift for that. I think that he had been able to do that before. So he went and he prayed. That was something we'll see later. He did that a lot. He went home. He told his friends. He said, please just pray so that the Lord will tell us the secret. He's hidden it from the king, and just pray so that we're not executed. So they all prayed, and thankfully God revealed to him what it was. And so he went to see the king, and he said, please don't kill the men. And he said, I will tell the meaning of the dream. And so they took him to the king, and he said, all right, king, I am going to tell you now what your dream was, and also what it was about. So he said, first of all, in your vision, you saw a frightening, huge, shining statue of a man, and the head of the statue was made of fine gold. And its chest and arms were silver, and its belly and thighs were bronze, and its legs were iron, and its feet were a combination of iron and baked clay. And as you watched, a rock was cut from a mountain, but not by human hands. It struck the feet of iron clay, smashing them to bits, and the whole statue was crushed into small pieces of iron, clay, bronze, silver, and gold. Then the wind blew them away without a trace, like chaff on a threshing floor. But the rock that knocked the statue down became a great mountain that covered the whole earth. And that's in my own word, or in the words here. I'm not reading out of the Bible there, but it's saying what the Bible says. So he talked about all the things that it represented. Basically, they represented kingdoms, and he told the king what it meant. And whenever King Nebuchadnezzar heard it, he said, truly, he bowed down before Daniel. He was very impressed, and he said, your God is the greatest of gods, the Lord over kings, a revealer of mysteries, for you have been able to reveal this secret. And so the king made Daniel like a great ruler. He made him a very important person. And Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, he put them in charge of very important things in the kingdom. And Nebuchadnezzar was realizing who the true God was. But something happened, because later there's another story in Daniel, and we kind of realize Nebuchadnezzar kind of forgot about that. So this is the big story that we know of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And remember them, what happened. So they, were in charge of a lot of things in the kingdom. Well, one day, King Nebuchadnezzar, I don't know what got in his head, but he said, I'm going to build me a statue. And everybody is going to need to bow down and worship it. You know this story. And so he sent a herald to go and proclaim it to all the land. And he said, everybody is commanded, as soon as you hear the musical instruments, that you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And anybody who doesn't, you know what happened. They were going to get thrown into the fiery furnace. Well, everybody shows up. They bring everybody so that they can bow down. But everybody realizes Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not bow down, because they were only going to worship the true God. And so the people, the astrologers, went to Nebuchadnezzar and they said, they didn't bow down. They didn't bow down. You need to kill them. And so the king brings them and he says, why? Why are you not doing this? And honestly, he got very, very angry. So he ordered the 3 men to come before him and he said, I'm going to give you one last chance to bow down. You need to bow down or you're getting thrown in the fiery furnace. So he said, do you think there is any God who can save you? And he said, you better bow down. Well, remember what they said? They said, you know what? We know God is able to save us. But if he doesn't, we still will not bow down to the idol, to the statue. So they had great faith in God. They were willing to die. They didn't know if God was going to save them or not. So the people go to throw him into the furnace. And what happens, look, is super hot, because Nebuchadnezzar got so angry. He said, heat it 7 times hotter. And it was so hot that when the people threw them in, the ones that threw them in actually died. And they threw them in tied up so that they couldn't get loose. Well, they're in the fire, and then suddenly Nebuchadnezzar sees something, and he gets amazed. He's like, didn't you throw 3 men in there? We tied up 3 men and threw them in there, and now there's a 4th one. And they said, yeah, it was just 3. And he said, well, they're not tied. They're walking around. There's 4 of them walking around. They're not tied. It doesn't look like they're being hurt. And it said it looks like the 4th one. He said the 4th one looks like the Son of God. Well, Nebuchadnezzar was so surprised that he went up to the door and he said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the living God, come out. And they came out, and they looked at all the men, and they looked at them. They didn't have their, they weren't tied anymore, but their clothes weren't burnt. They hadn't been hurt. They didn't even smell like fire. They didn't even smell like smoke. It's crazy. Well, King Nebuchadnezzar was impressed once again. Now, I'm not going to tell this part of the story, but later, he was just a very proud man, and God humbled him in a really bad way. And so he realized at this time who the true God was, and he let them go. And they said, you know what? We need to worship their God, because they disobeyed my orders to serve their God, and their God saved them. And so he said, I command everybody to worship the true and living God. And so actually he was very violent. He said, if you don't worship the true God, he said, you're going to be torn limb from limb, which, you know, probably not the best thing, but at least he realized who the true king was. So he made that declaration. Well, many years passed, and there was actually another king that came along. And then that didn't last long, and there was another king that came along. And he was actually a person that liked Daniel. Now, in this story, Daniel, this is getting close to the end of the book of Daniel. And he is older now. And you know what? He's been faithful to God for a lifetime. I don't know that he ever got to go back to Jerusalem. I think he lived in Babylon for the rest of his life and served there. But he worshiped the true God the whole time he lived there. And he had a habit of praying every day. He would open his windows, and actually he would open his windows in the direction of Jerusalem, and he would pray in that direction. So he had a habit of doing that. He did that every single day, and everybody knew it too. And he excuse me, I went outside and I touched a goat, and it's got me sneezing. Anyway, he was one of the rulers who helped King Darius. This was the new king. And actually, Darius liked him very much. Daniel just showed that, you know, he was a better worker, and he was wiser than the other people. And so, honestly, Darius really liked him very much, and he made him an important ruler. Well, the other people who worked with Daniel were not very happy about that at all. They got jealous. And so, you know, you see Darius there with Daniel, and they're jealous. And so they came up with a plan. They knew every day, every single day, Daniel would pray to his God. And you know what? They couldn't really come up with anything wrong to accuse him of, because he just was a person of honest character, and he did the right thing. And so they wanted to get rid of him, but they didn't know how, so they came up with this plan. And they said, we know that Daniel's going to pray every day, so let's come up with a plan to tell the king that everybody should worship you, king. And you know what? Nobody should be worshiping anybody else except for you. Well, Darius was not thinking very well that day, and so he made it a law. And the thing with making a law for the Persians is that it could not be changed. And so he made the law that, you know what? The only person that people can pray to is the king. And if they pray to anybody else, they'll be thrown into a pit filled with lions. And so they made the law, but guess what Daniel did the very next day? He'd lived his whole life serving God. He served God when he was young. He served God when he was an adult, and now he's old. He's like, really? You think I'm going to stop praying? Maybe he was a little scared. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But he did. He opened the windows for everybody to see, and he started to pray. And he did it 3 times a day. Well, of course his enemies were very happy. And those little tattletales went and told the king, and they said, guess what? Daniel's over there praying to his God, and he's not praying to you, King Darius. So we're going to need to throw him into the lion's den. Well, the king was actually not very happy about this, because I don't think he was thinking very well, because he's like, oh man, Daniel's like my favorite, and now I'm going to have to throw him into the lion's den. But the problem is, that law could not be changed. Even the king couldn't change it. So, you know what? The next day, he had to give the orders for Daniel to be thrown into the pit. And he said, you know what? May your God rescue you. The one that you serve so loyally, may he rescue you. And he put him in the pit. And they closed the lid over the pit so that, you know, Daniel couldn't get out. And also they put like a seal on it, like they closed it so that nobody could try to get him out, and they left him. Well, the king that night, he could not sleep at all. It was awful. And so he comes down the next day and he says, Daniel, and he cries out, servant of the living God, was the God you serve able to save you from the lions? And Daniel answered, may your majesty live forever. God sent his angel to shut the mouth of the lions so that they would not hurt me. And so that morning, the king was so happy. He was able to get Daniel out because the lions didn't kill him. And you know what he did? The ones that accused Daniel, he threw them in the pit. And then he made a new law. And he said, everybody needs to serve the God of Daniel, because he is the living God and he will rule forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed and his power will never come to an end. He rescues and performs miracles, and he saved Daniel from being killed by the lions. And so you know what? Those were 3 different stories, but they teach us a lot, right? First of all, they served God when they were young. They served God when they were adults, and they served God until the very end. No matter what threatened them, they served God. And you know what? Because of it, it showed everybody who the true God was, and God blessed them for it. So I encourage you to do the same. Always be faithful to God, because he is the true God. All right? So I want to just go over actually one of the songs from my class real quick. That kind of goes along with it. Spanish.
Que son sus hijos, dones les da el Señor, y lo que Él me ha dado es para su labor. Yo quiero servirle, ser fiel y luchar, y ser verdadero en todo lugar. Ser fiel yo deseo en tempestad, consiervo de Cristo, con su lealtad. Vivir por Cristo quiero, gozarme en su amor. Anhelo que me diga, fiel y buen servidor. Yo quiero servirle, ser fiel y luchar, y ser verdadero en todo lugar. Ser fiel yo deseo en tempestad, un siervo de Cristo con su lealtad. Si a Jesús servimos, sea en humildad. Y si obedecemos, oiremos su llamar. Yo quiero servirle, ser fiel y luchar, y ser verdadero en todo lugar. Ser fiel yo deseo en tempestad, un siervo de Cristo con su lealtad.
Okay. Now, I just want to go over one verse, and maybe we'll play a little game here and see if you can do it. It's from Daniel, chapter 1, verse 8. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Alright, never mind. I wrote down the wrong verse. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. So sorry. It was Daniel 6:6. I think this is a neat verse. Nope, 6:5. I'll get it here in a second. Alright, it says, then said these men. This is when they were trying to get Daniel out of power. It said, then said these men. We shall not find any occasion. How do I spell that? Occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Alright, so let's see who watched this far in this video. If you write this verse down and you bring it to me on Sunday, you will get to get a candy out of the treasure box. So, Daniel 6:5, if you are there, you can say it. Daniel 6:5, then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. And so I encourage you to be like Daniel. And you know what? If anybody's going to find anything wrong with you, the only way they're going to be able to find it is that you love the Lord and that you serve the Lord, and that you are upright and you have good character and you're honest and you're loyal and you're faithful. And so I encourage you to do that. And let's see how many people bring Daniel 6:5 written and bring it to me on Sunday. Bye, guys.